The Retirement Café Podcast, episode 85, Navigating Your Personal Financial Life with Simonne Gnessen.
Retired or thinking about retirement? You've come to the right place. Welcome to the Retirement Café Podcast. In each episode, we bring you an important conversation with insight, tips and knowledge, all designed to help you live a fulfilling and successful life in retirement. Here's your host, Chartered Financial Planner and accredited later life advisor, Justin King.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Retirement Café Podcast. This episode, as all our episodes currently, are sponsored by the Timeline app. And the Timeline is a state-of-the-art retirement income planning software that helps financial planners like me bring your retirement journey to life and answer your big retirement income questions. This week, I'm really pleased to welcome Simonne Gnessen to the show. Now, Simonne and I go back quite a long way. Maybe she'll remember when we first met. But Simonne is a unique money coach and a financial life planner with a company called Wise Monkey Financial Coaching. That's Wise Monkey Financial Coaching. She helps people build better relationships with money to feel more confident and in control of their finances. She's also the co-author of a book called Sheconomics. So thanks for joining me, Simonne.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So, we met, didn't we, on the Kinder 5-day life planning training, financial life planning.
Yeah, I think we went on the same training, but I think we met at the conference probably in 2011, maybe.
That's right. And I've got
9 years ago.
I've got a feeling that I was on your training, but only as an assistant or something, or I was making the teas and coffees. I remember being there for a little bit more, but not being a partaker. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So it's 9 years ago. So and you've developed your business dramatically over the last few years. So tell me about yourself and Wise Monkey Coaching.
Yeah, my background was financial advice. So I was an independent financial advisor, and I worked in that way for about 10 years, worked for 2 organizations. And I was kind of one of the lucky ones in a way, because I was bred through fee only really with clients. And so the structure was very much kind of client centric. But I felt like you, Justin, that there was a growing need for help and support with money that wasn't available to most people, because most people don't meet the criteria of high net worth client that most financial planners are looking for. And I broke away from the profession because I wanted to do something different that was not linked to products. And that's how it all began, really. So working, like sharing my knowledge and experience and helping people manage money more effectively and understand pensions and ISAs and investments and do financial planning without the product recommendation side of it. But actually what happened is the clients that were attracted to this service were also those struggling with their relationship to money and not achieving financial success, not being able to get out of their own way with their habits and behaviors. So then I studied coaching techniques, and I trained as an NLP practitioner, a master practitioner, so I can help people kind of unhook messages from the past and get out of their own way, really, in terms of changing not only their behaviors, but also the deeper kind of mindset around money. So I work in a very practical way with clients, but also tackling the emotions that get in the way. So it's a multi kind of layered service. And I don't give recommendations or advice or opinions, but I help people navigate the journey of their personal financial life, really.
Yeah. And, there are a lot of people, aren't they, who, I suppose, for the use of the metaphor, put their head in the sand a little bit with money. I kind of go, I don't understand pensions and I don't understand investments and I don't, money, we have lots of messages, don't we? Money just drips through my hands, or I'm not good with money, that type of thing. So how do you help people like that?
Well, first of all, there might be a bit of so I talk about this kind of coaching role as in like a Venn diagram, like you're wearing three hats. One is an advisor, albeit with what I do, it's soft advice. In other words, money management strategies and that kind of thing, rather than the product side of things.
Yeah.
The mentoring could incorporate the teaching side of things, helping people, just sitting down with somebody and explaining the difference between a pension and an ISA, tax implications, flexibility, all that stuff. So you're demystifying what can sometimes be complex, and drawing pictures for people and helping them understand things in a more simplistic way. And then the other side of it is coaching, pure coaching, which is the client is the expert, not you. You're teasing out information from them. You're helping them challenge their own mindset, their behaviors, their attitudes. You're helping them gain different perspective. So if it's somebody, I mean, there's different examples that you brought out there, but if somebody has a kind of underlying message that this stuff is all too complicated and I'm not, this isn't for me, I'll leave it to my partner to deal with all this stuff because that's their, they like doing this stuff and I don't, then, I would kind of challenge that and talk about the importance and significance, or draw that out of them. Like, what would be the benefits of being in control of this? What would be the benefits of understanding this? So they're getting the buy-in, the motivation. So using kind of coaching techniques to really get their, because this has to be driven by them, not me. There's no point in me saying, you need to know this stuff. Right, sit down and listen. It's about, why? What would be the purpose of this? What would be the benefits of understanding this and being in better control? And maybe it's, well, should my partner die before me, then I'll be on my own with this. And I really do need to understand this so that I won't feel, I want to feel empowered and I want to feel in control. And I want to feel like I've got options and freedom. And then, slowly working with them to whatever level they're at, whatever level. If somebody has no knowledge, or they've got, you work at their level to try and help improve that. But also there might be underneath all of that some self-limiting beliefs that get in the way. So our own mindset, our own messages, our experiences with money, what we learned growing up could be getting in the way. And then we may work through some of that and try and unhook things from the past.
Sure. So for the benefit of kind of maybe some of the people that you work with who are maybe close to retirement or retiring, have you got any kind of stories that you could tell me, or case studies that you could, without obviously mentioning anyone's names, of people who've kind of gone through that transitional period who were struggling, and you've coached them through that?
Yeah, I mean, one example, which isn't quite that. I guess what when you started talking about that, somebody who sprang to mind around the navigating that balance between looking after herself. So this was a widow whose husband died at a young age, and she brought up her children on her own, mostly, and concentrated on their education and concentrated on generating a big income in order to cover private education, looking after them, and now she's close to retirement age and preparing for that transition. But what's getting in the way is the support, the financial support she's still giving the boys, and who are now, she had a cutoff of age 25. I'm going to tell you in advance now, years in advance, I'm not supporting you after this. And now one of them is over that age. So helping navigate, like, what's getting in the way there? How are you enabling them and disempowering them, really? If you want them to build a healthy financial life going into the future, if you consistently enable them financially, get them out of trouble, then what how are they going to grow up? What are they learning about money? What are they? They're at a stage of life where they're ready to take responsibility, and at some level, perhaps you're not letting them take that responsibility. So I wouldn't be saying that language to them. I'd be kind of teasing that out of her. So those are, that's an example where we've looked at her own relationship to money, what's driving the behavior, what's the benefits of working on this, what do you want for the boys, really, for their future, and then gently kind of changing behavior and reinforcing new habits so that she's now looking after her own needs and prioritizing herself, whilst not being, challenging the gift giving and stocking up their fridge and all those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, so I know you have a number of you work one-on-one with clients, and you've got a program, I think, the Do Money program, etc. So could you give me an example if, I don't know, let's say I came to you and I said, Simonne, I'm just turning to 50, and I'm thinking that I've only got 10 years left, and I'm confused, and I don't know what work that is, and I want to make sure I'm going to be okay, but I don't really understand all this stuff. What is the process that you would take me through?
So before we begin, first of all, there's a kind of matching process of, is this client right for me, etc. So I've got a trained psychotherapist, actually, who's my client relationship manager, who takes that initial call.
Wow.
And I use somebody, I brought in somebody that is very skilled at the emotional side to be able to do that. So that, because often, the kind of clients I'm seeing sometimes experiencing a lot of shame and fear and guilt, and there are lots of kind of negative emotions attached to their situation sometimes when they're coming to see me, because it may be that they've got themselves into a bit of a pickle, and they don't, maybe they're earning pretty well, but they don't have anything to show for it, that kind of thing. So the process would be kind of finding out a bit more about what their needs are, and just to see if it's a good fit and it's the kind of thing that I can help with. And then we talk them through the process. So before I begin, Joe sends out on my behalf a questionnaire and worksheets. And the questionnaire has a tick box thing around areas that I can help with, and then also some questions, which range from practical things, different to a financial planning kind of questionnaire.
Right.
So the practical questions might be, tell me how you navigate finances between you, if it's a couple. How much time do you spend on your finances? How many different bank accounts do you have? That kind of thing. And then on to your relationship to money, and specifically how I can help. So it'll be things like, describe your relationship to money. What are your biggest kind of fears and insecurities? What habits would you like to change? What have you done about changing them in the past? And then specifically, how can I help? How will you know you got what you were looking for? What will you be seeing, thinking, feeling differently? And then there's a goals exercise. So it concentrates on life goals. So what's important to you in your life? What are the financial goals attributed to that? And then there's an exercise of what you need to do by when, and that we might fill in the gaps together, but it gets people thinking about what's truly important to them.
Right.
And what are the financial goals attached to what's truly important to them. So that's the questionnaire. It's quite an investment of time. People, sometimes they answer those really fully, and they've spent 2-3 hours kind of really, because it's a useful document for them to have as well. Yeah. And with a couple, it's really good because you're because we each have our own relationship to money. We've got our own goals, fears, insecurities. So they can do that together and then share their results together, which is interesting, which they do sometimes before we meet, or sometimes we do it together when we meet. And then the financial side are a series of worksheets. So there's one on income and spending, broken down between everything imaginable. If somebody is approaching retirement, I would work with them in revisiting that information and translating that into when you've retired, how will that change? So we look at where the gaps are and what income have you got coming in from state pensions, etc., and what's the shortfall. But that's how things are right now. And sometimes I work with people in, for many people, they don't know how much they're spending, and we can't trust that data because. So my first question when I meet them face to face is, how did you compile this and how accurate do you think it is? And for some people, they'll say, I went through 6 months of bank statements and I've really analysed it properly. And other people say, a bit of a guess, and you can usually tell because people have put everything is rounded up to the nearest £100 or something. But that provides the initial starting point of data to start talking to them about money management and that kind of thing. And then the other document is I call it net worth. And it's a very simple one-page document, assets on one side, liabilities on the other. And it's simply, what have you got? What do you owe? Broken down between investments, savings, pensions, property, etc. And then mortgages, loans, credit cards, overdrafts. So it's just a snapshot. Both of those documents are a snapshot of their finances as they stand today.
Right.
And so they've done an exercise preparing for the meeting with the questionnaire and the worksheets. And quite a lot of has gone in. The process began way before we meet. And then when we meet, we start going through that and we're, specifically addressing their objectives, the outcome they're looking for. So if it's somebody there's a shortfall, there's not enough money coming in, or there's more going out than coming in, we'll look at ways of increasing income or reducing expenditure. We'll look at habits and behaviors that may get in the way. If it's somebody preparing for retirement, we'll look at what they've already got. We'll plug in some numbers and do some cash flow planning maybe, and look at whether there's a shortfall, what they need to do to top up that shortfall, etc. So it's the planning side of it and the emotional navigation, if you like, and the education perhaps, but without product recommendations or opinions really. Right. So it's just helping them understand to take better control.
And how long would it typically last, the working with you to get someone?
It depends on the situation. So if it's somebody saying, can I afford to retire, or can I afford to take a year out, or can I afford, or, I'm thinking about doing this, I'm thinking about downsizing my property, releasing some money to top up my pension income, then it might be just a couple of sessions. They've done the preparation, we roll up our sleeves in that first session, 2 hours, and we can achieve a lot in 2 hours.
Right.
And then maybe we have one follow-up. But if I'm helping somebody change their relationship to money, they have these habits of gifting money, or using money in a way that's not supporting them, and they're over spending or underspending sometimes, then it might be a more complex series of sessions where I'm doing a mixture of life planning, financial life planning. I'm doing a mixture of some of the cash flow modeling. I'm doing a mixture of NLP, life coaching, all of those things. That intuitively I just use the right process with the right person at the right time.
Yeah, sure. It sounds, and I think that what's lovely is, of course, that there's an assurity that you're not going to sell them a financial product at the end of it.
Yeah, it's a guarantee because I've stepped away from regulation, so I'm on purpose kind of separating myself away from the financial services world, so that and I've got a very thin line I have to make sure I don't cross to make to ensure that I'm not giving advice, and it's much more complex than just I can't suggest a specific pension plan. It's, I can't even make a recommendation that a pension is the right thing for somebody or an ISA is the right thing for somebody. So it's very much about empowering somebody else so that they make the decisions, and I'm just navigating the kind of pros, cons, consequences of decision making.
Sure.
And also I should add that I'm also delivering now a lot of training, and I'm bringing more people in. So it's not just me that's doing this work. I've now trained about 90 people to deliver this kind of work to their clients, and more and more and more people are getting out there, all around the country doing this kind of work. And I'm hoping that will grow more and more as time goes by.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Now, I know you're also involved with the initiative for the financial well-being with Chris Budd.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit about that.
Well, I feel a bit of an imposter in that I didn't attend the conference because it was the same time as I was delivering a 5-day training, so I couldn't kind of break away from that. And but why I'm being involved in this is that the ethos of I love it. I love the ethos of the financial well-being, like addressing how it's not just about, in the financial services world, it's a lot about kind of helping people make good investment decisions and plan for their future. But actually, what about well-being? We know that there's only a certain amount of income that we need to be happy, and then after that it adds no further degree of happiness to our happiness scale or whatever. So and yet we're striving for more and more and more, and that's not necessarily making us happy. So rather than focusing on finance, we're focusing on well-being and helping people live inspiring lives that nourish their souls, that kind of thing. So that's ultimately what's behind the Financial Wellbeing Initiative. And I'm interested because financial well-being is very much at the heart of what I do, that I'm working with people all the time that have fears and guilt and shame surrounding the issues of money, and don't might feel immature when it comes to money, or so this is actually causing them a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, sleepless nights, worry. And so I'm interested in getting involved so that I can, so it isn't just about the traditional financial services world, but also we're helping those people that haven't yet accumulated the assets or whatever that bring themselves to take financial advice, that it also incorporates a wider net. And I'm also interested in setting up a charity where we can, so, my work is part of the reason behind it was to be able to offer a kind of lower cost solution to people. But there's still a fees attached to it. But I'm training people that need practice, and there's a whole tranche of people that need help that could do with having some support from somebody that isn't charging them or are charging them lower fees. So it feels like a very natural fit to bring in people I've trained with a kind of charitable arm of perhaps the initiative, perhaps my company. I'm not sure how it will all sit at the moment, but say the initiative, where I can bring those people together, or we can bring those people together, where there'll be the capacity to be able to improve people's financial well-being at no or low cost.
Yeah, great. That's fantastic. Well, Simonne, it's been fascinating chatting to you, and I've admired your work for a long, long time and what you do. Where can people who are interested in finding out about you? Where people can to reach out and connect with you?
Well, my website is financial-coaching.co.uk. There's links on there to Sheconomics, which is the book we wrote, and there's a website for that, sheconomics.com, and there's some tools and resources on there, and the Do Money program, I think, did we mention that, is on there, which is a £14 program. It's not something I always do with every client, but it's there for people to use, which helps people challenge their behavior and do things differently to how they normally do things. And so there's access to that kind of information. And obviously I'm on all the social media platforms, Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn, and more recently in Instagram, although it's fairly recent, so I'm not prolific on that. But I don't know if I think you've got the links that you can share with people.
Absolutely. So we'll put all the links for all of that stuff.
Thank you.
In the show notes, so where they can to reach out and contact you, because I know that what you do, I think, is fantastic. There's a lot of clients or a lot of people out there who would like to go to someone impartial and get some just good, straightforward financial advice, counseling, coaching, whatever it may be, without the fear of being sold something, which I know that there is a fear in people's minds. So to find out more about Simonne and Wise Monkey Financial Coaching and the book, as I say, I'll put it all in the show notes at the retirementcafe.co.uk. As always, if you've enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review on iTunes to help more people like you find out about us, and share this episode with your friends and family who may find it interesting. To be sure never to miss an episode, hit the subscribe button on your preferred podcast player, or you can always visit the retirementcafe.co.uk. Once again, thanks to the Timeline app for sponsoring the podcast. So we're very grateful for that. And until next time, this is Justin King, helping you feel more informed in your retirement.
Thank you for listening to the Retirement Café Podcast with Justin King. To find out more, you can find us online at theretirementcafe.co.uk.